My name is Larry Dorsey, and I'm the chair of the Superior Historical Commission and have been now since 2006. I'm retired from teaching high school history and government. So in my retirement, I'm doing my part for preservation of local history. Part of our mission is to preserve the past for the benefit of the present and the future. And what we have here is the history of a lot of pioneer families, all the way up through the coal mining era and a wonderful slice of the past. This was about a mile and a half east of the town, and now the town's grown right up against it. This US 36 is right to the north of us, and we're just directly east of the sports stable. The cemetery is maintained by the Town of Superior Parks and Recreation Department. That includes keeping the grass cut down and weeds under control. Over the years, conservation efforts have amounted to the construction of installation of this metal fence. Prior to that, it was just barbed wire and poles. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Superior Cemetery. This cemetery was dedicated in 1873, and the motivation for that was the loss of Lottie Eggleston, a child, and so the Minks family donated about an acre and a half of land for the burial site for the residents of this valley. Around 2020, there was a grant made by a Colorado Cemetery Preservation Organization that resulted in development of our interpretive signs and these pavers and benches, and the creation of the trail system throughout the cemetery.
Do you know by approximately how many bodies they suspect are buried in this cemetery here?
Ground penetrating radar project determined there are 90 burial sites here in the cemetery. We've had 2 ground penetrating radar events and the restoration of the headstones around 2003, 2004. Well, the restorer was a fellow named David Villa. He raised the stones up and reset them so that they were square and plumb, filled cracks in some, and then there was a cleaning process as well. This is one of our Civil War veterans. This is Mr. Morton, who fought in 3 significant battles of the Civil War, Chancellorsville, Fredericksburg, and Gettysburg. So he's in the Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry. He came out west because some of his other family had preceded him, and he went to work in the coal mines in this area, lived off to the west of Superior along what we now call Coal Creek Drive. He survived these Civil War battles and ironically lost his arm in a mining accident. So this is a standard military headstone used for veterans throughout the United States. There are stories in these headstones, things like the Spanish flu in 1918, where we can interpret from these headstones that some of the people buried here probably passed from the influenza epidemic. This headstone is of Mr. Jacob Wolverton, who was in the Illinois infantry and fought in various battles during the Civil War. His inscription is pretty well worn off through erosion, winds and sands and so forth. The fellow who worked on the ground penetrating radar project made this brass plaque so that it would tell the details that are now obscured. So this is Jacob Wolverton, died in 1890, almost 30 years after the Civil War. I don't have any ghost stories as such, but there are some tragic stories. Someone who was taking care of people who were sick with the Spanish flu, and he contracted the flu himself and passed away. And also there was a case of 2 sisters who were trapped on a railroad trestle and weren't able to get off in time. And one of them was hit by the train and killed. So we have some stories, but not any ghost stories that I'm aware of. All right, this headstone is for Lottie Eggleston, who was only 3 at the time. She passed away in 1873. So this is the first burial in the Superior Cemetery. The person who did the headstone restoration put this piece on this slab of sandstone because it was too fragile to put back in its original vertical position. Without that stone under it, it would be crumbling away even more. The result of her death was the farmers getting together and creating this Superior Cemetery. This cemetery is what's called a closed cemetery, so there are not new burials happening, but we have a lot of Boulder County families have their ancestors buried here, and we're hoping that as we get this more accessible to the public, that people will come back to visit their ancestors. Other questions?
Is there a reason they chose this land for the cemetery?
Well, I think you'll find that a lot of small town cemeteries especially, they did hilltops. And I think there's something kind of symbolic about being elevated and a little bit closer to God or something like that.
Why are there so many iris planted throughout?
Well, I think another old time tradition was to decorate graves. It was common for people to plant permanent perennials. They bloom every year all over this cemetery. I always like reading the inscriptions they came up with back in those days. In loving remembrance of S.A. Lemon, died January 17, 1902, age 49. God in his wisdom has recalled the boon his love has given. Though the body molders here, the soul is safe in heaven. Well, the cemetery is open to visitors by calling the town hall or the community center, and they will give you a combination to the combination lock that will allow them in. Well, it's a pleasure sharing all this with you this morning, everyone. And
I really enjoyed this tour. It was very informative, and I love being able to connect to where I work and choose to spend my time, and I'm really grateful to Larry and JG for coordinating with us.
I think I've got another one here. Alas, how changed that lovely flower which bloomed and cheered my heart. Fair fleeting comforts of an hour, how soon we're called to part. Gone, but not forgotten.